Hello, I am Holland Wilson. I am in HRA 310 with Dr. Albert Breda in fall of 2016, and I am here to explain a capital budgeting simulation we did. So the point of this exercise was to pretend to be the CEO of a doll company and figure out which projects we could afford to do in order to keep our current value and increase it as quickly as possible. So we have this array of projects here, and arguably the most important panel is the Analyze tab. So we have the year, obviously, our revenues for the previous year, just so that we have an idea of where we're starting from. It seems to be a profitable company. The divisions are color-coded, so we can easily tell which part of our business is making us the most money. And you can see that licensing makes quite a lot of money off of next to no assets. And it makes up the lion's share of our profit. But not a huge amount of revenue. That's because there's next to no upkeep for licenses. We just have to pay for the patents and probably a few other clerical things. But it makes us huge amounts of money, so we want to focus on licensing if we can. Retail's a pretty solid chunk of our business. And doesn't cost us too much. And then the production, of course. We're a doll company. We make toys, which is important. And so the people probably like our production assets, but they don't make us a whole lot of money. They could be good for goodwill, though. So we need to pay attention to that. In this next tab, we have our income statement for the current year and projected 10 years into the future. This will tell us what our net income is and what our net income would be if nothing changed. As you can see, we are expecting some growth, but not too much. So if nothing changes, if I don't make any terrible investments and I don't make any great investments, my company is expected to grow. But it wouldn't let us expand into new markets very easily. You can see the individual departments consolidated into one. They're all growing. It's probably good for us. We have the cash flow statement for each division, projected 10 years into the future. Financial analysis. Overall seems to be in good company. So, the project details screen is really important. This gives us the descriptions for each individual project. It's a little blurb, your costs, the risk of the project, net present value, the internal rate of return that you'd get from your forecasts, the payback period, which is the time it takes for you to recoup your initial investment, and then the profitability index, which is the amount of money you stand to make over the course of the project relative to the amount you enter. It's a ratio, so it's 1 to, in this case, 3.34, which means we'll recoup our money and then get additional money 2 1/3 times over. So that sounds pretty good, except that the payback period is 8.7 years. Might not be so hot, even if we do make it well in the long run, because profitability index is not huge. It's good, but now we can check this out. New doll film / DVD. It's a medium risk. moderate project cost, but look at this. It got a gigantic internal rate of return, payback period of only 1.4 years, and the profitability index is nearly 9. You can check over here. This is going to cost us very little next year. Similarly, that costs a small amount. So each year we have a constrained budget. In this case, I have $9.8 million. And I can choose to spend that on any of these as long as these numbers don't add up to over 9.8. So I get to choose any number. So if I picked warehouse facility consolidation, I wouldn't be able to choose match by Dell Colvin. And that'll get constraining later on, and I only have a certain amount, so I don't want to spend it frivolously. Like, I don't want to pick everything here. I do want to pick the thing that's going to make me the most money, which is this. See, in 5 years, it's going to be it's going to be very much in the red. It'll put me in the hole immediately, but it's going to recover quickly, and it will make a large profit in the future. Now that decreased my budget. And what else do we have? The retail store expansion costs me very little next year. 5 years, it's expected to be good. Payback is not as good, but it also has an okay profit index, and I think I like that too. Excuse me. So, I think I'm happy with my projects. Nothing here is screaming positive to me, so I'm going to submit. And here we can see a revenue spike. We can see the project updates. It generated more revenue than expected and was profitable right away. The doll film was released on schedule, and sales exceeded the previous expectations. So that sounds great. You can see our individual things. Not much has changed there. And our APV has gone up a tiny bit. So we can check out here. See how we're growing. Cash flow, dashboard, cash flow, financial analysis. Now we can compare 2009 to 2016. Lower on the net income. That's a shame. Net current assets up. And what do we have? So first I'm looking for the big numbers. What'll give me the most internal rate of return? Right now it's the clothing line. It's got 9.21 payback. And the profit index isn't great. So I don't actually like any of these, to be honest. Because the best profit index here is a payback of over 10 years. And in 5 years, that's not going to be a huge advantage to me. It does have a low initial cost, though. So I'm going to go with the one that has a low initial cost. And that'll give me a project to work on without taking too much of my budget. So I have some to save for later. And we can see that the total budget constraint has gone down since the past year, since I spent it on these two. Decide. I can view all updates here. Expenditures of concept testing were 3 times higher than projected. Likewise, much higher. Seems alright. Actual revenue, operating income, and net income were all significantly higher than the forecast. So how do we see the historical? Ooh, yeah. So net income dropped a little bit last year, but then it jumped up quite a bit this year. That's 5 million, which is a large segment of large percentage of my previous revenue. My net assets only increased a little bit, which means that the liabilities and shareholders' equity up. I'm pretty happy with that, even though it didn't look too hot to begin with. Now we have some new options. The doll video game. IR, profit index, payback less than 3 years. That's great. Lifetime project costs, nothing. We like that. We like that a lot because it's not going to cost us anything this year, not going to cost us anything next year. It's just going to make us money, and it'll take a little while to pay back. It'll take just a second to pay back. It'll eventually get us quite a lot of cash. So we have this tween book series that has a high IR, profit index, off the charts, better than anything else on here. Payback is a little over 5 years. Lifetime project costs not too much, and it costs us nothing this year, so I like that a lot. And that would fall under licensing, which is the largest share of our revenue stream. So we want to maximize these. And you can go over here to project details and tell which division they're in. You have production, and then licensing. This is a high risk and pretty high project costs. So it doesn't stand to give us much. We don't want to care about that because it probably costs a lot to do. It's a magazine. They tend to operate at losses. So I can submit decisions, see how it turns out. Actual revenues above forecast revenues. Boosted revenue growth above expectations. This underperformed, but we don't really care about that because it didn't cost us anything, and it's making us a lot of money. So if it underperforms for a couple of years, well, we're fine with that. Hell, if it underperforms overall, we're fine with that because it didn't cost us much. Now this is a gold mine. We have this 400% IIR, 306.10 profit index. Giant. Remember, that's a ratio. It's going to cost us nothing to acquire this community, and it's going to return us quite a lot of money over the course of its lifespan. So that we want to capitalize. Here we have a pretty quick paying back project. Doesn't cost us much, and it makes us quite a lot of money, so we're going to go for the music CD series. And see, both of these are also under licensing. So this licensing stuff makes us all the money. And look, Bookstore Cafe and Writers Club. Profit index 13, payback under 5 years. Lifetime project costs nothing. Gonna grab that too. And here's something that doesn't make us any money, but it still costs us very little to accomplish. And it's going to make us some money in 5 years. Probably not optimal for the simulation, but to me, replacing assembly equipment is pretty important, and it's not a big money loser, so you should keep your tools up to date. And the supplier software system is similar. The IRs are good anyway. 38 and 40. So we can decide. Bam. We're not quite as high above the forecast as we used to be, but you're still going up, 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 up. Historical financials, how are we doing? 13.04, 18.3, 20.22, 21.63. We're not growing as fast as we did in this year, but we're still going up, and we're making some good moves in figuring out which projects to work on. So we got performed as expected, performed better than expected. Development costs were higher than budgeted, but remember they were very low to begin with. Revenue costs were significantly lower, but revenues were significantly lower, but it didn't cost anything to make, and now we're just going to make loads of money off. Maybe not loads, but it's all free money, so free money is always good. So we've got a young author book series. That's another licensing one. It doesn't cost us much, and it's going to make us a bunch of money. If you don't have to pay anything for a project, then any money that comes in after the 2.17 years is just bonus on top of it, and you can build a whole industry off of just licensing stuff. And I really don't like any of these others. They don't have high IRR. Payback times tend to be long, except for this one, which is a dinky project and is only going to lose us money over 5 years. So I'm just going to grab the book series, focus on the licensing. And my company's ending ABV is 397.48, which I understand is not very good. So I guess I did something wrong there. I think I chose projects based on their merit and picked the ones that had the best numbers and were expected to earn me money in the future. So I'm not entirely sure what went wrong, but it did grow. I assume the people at my company are doing quite happily, and all the projects I've engaged in were generally successful, or at least didn't cost much money if they didn't perform as expected. Nothing tanked. Profits have never gone down. So I consider it a positive, even if some of my shareholders might not. So thank you for sitting through this capital budgeting simulation. I have been Holland Wilson, and I am out. And I can close this.